Now, whenever I do a video, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's showcasing an artifact or telling you guys about a skill or whatever, I always try to do my due diligence of research. And today's video, I want to preface it that I do not have really any primary sources that indicates that an 18th century soldier or frontiersman would have had what I'm going to show you today. I can't find anything. Okay, but that being said, it's a cool project. It was something interesting to dive into, and I try to find a rabbit hole to squirrel my way into to find out stuff for you and find out for myself, and honestly find out for my students too. Because when we do these kind of research projects, it's always cool to me how enlightening they can be. Because you may start out expecting something, and in the end, you find out that no matter how hard you scratch and dig, the reality is just not what you thought it would be. And that should be okay too, right? Because we want to be honest in how we approach history, and we want to be honest in how we approach, well, our day-to-day lives. So today's video is about whistles. Now, I've done videos before discussing scout whistles because this was literally part of a required uniform for scouts in the early 20th century. You got these tube whistles. Now, tube whistles have been around for a really long time, and I'm going to show you a tube whistle that you can make, and I'm going to walk you through that process. But then you got the pea whistles. Pea whistles have also been around for a really long time. These were not that common in the 18th century. Tube-style whistles were way more common because they're so easy to make and manufacture. And it's so simple that if you really needed to or really wanted to, you could bushcraft it or woodcraft one out in the woods if you got the time and you're just trying to kill. It's a pretty neat project, to be honest. So here are my tube whistles, my scout whistles, and I'm not going to create a whole nother video about this. I'm not going to dive into it because there's different ones for the different eras in American scouting. I'm going to post that right up here. So after we get done with the video, come back to this point and look it up. And I'll also try to put it in the description box below if I can remember it. Okay. Now, when it comes to the colonial use of the tube whistle, like I said, I couldn't really find anything in any primary sources. I even looked to see if there were some that were dug in battlefields and campsites, things like that, and I literally couldn't find anything. There was one brief source that says it's in a museum collection, but there's lots of things in museum collections that aren't necessarily, full of good provenance. I hate to say it. And I didn't follow up on that lead. Because that's the only one I could find, I'm just going to assume that they weren't really that common, okay? This is not something that you would have with you as a private soldier, as a militiaman. From what I read, possibly as an officer and as an NCO to call your men to order, get people's attention, that kind of thing. But I couldn't find anything being issued. I couldn't find anything being used in regards to like a manual of arms of them being issued or used. So I think we can just squash it. It just wasn't something that was used by colonial soldiers, all right? So to that end, I don't plan on taking one with me when I have my colonial uniform. However, I was still too inclined to make one. Like, it's just too cool of an opportunity. So I watched some videos, and I'll post the video I watched because the lady who did the video that I watched did a really good job, and I didn't come up with this information. I'm going to tell you about my tweaks and refinements because there's some information that she just left out because she's just like, this works for me, you got to play with it, and that's what I did to figure out my solutions. So it's really simple. Get yourself a stick, a dowel, whatever, right? I will tell you the smaller or narrow in diameter that the stick or dowel is, the higher pitch is going to be. The wider and bigger, the louder and even lower pitch is going to be. And that also kind of depends on the hole. So just assume, I'm just going to assume that you're going to use a dowel or a stick that's about 3/4 of an inch. This one here, just to verify, is 3/4 inch dowel, and it's oak. Now, first thing you do is you drill a hole in the center. Now, the lady's video did not say how deep. This is the depth that I suggest you use to get a nice resonance in your whistle, You could make it deeper and it would adjust the fluctuation. I kind of played with it and I figured this is like the sweet spot for me. Okay, now that depth is 1 3/4 inches. Dead on. 1 3/4 inches for a 3/4 inch dowel. All right, now I put tape on it. That way you know exactly how deep it is to drill. You know, you could use a marker if you wanted to, but the tape works really well if you're familiar with woodworking. Now, the size of bit that I use is, I think, a 5/16. Yeah, this is a 5/16 bit. So I had a 5/16 dowel that was sitting around my shop. This is just scrap. I didn't buy this, but you can take smaller sticks and you can whittle them down, which is part of the fun anyways. Now, once you have your dowel drilled, you're going to cut halfway into the wood. You want to do halfway about. And then you want about a 45-degree angle. If it's not exactly 45 degree, don't lose any sleep over it. This is something that's very forgiving, right? So straight down and 45 degree. Now, your lips are going to go around this, so you want your notch to be far enough ahead that when you put your lips over it, it's not going to be covered up. So the depth that I use for that is also 3/4 inch. I guess everything's 3/4 inch. And this is by happenstance. I didn't measure any of this out really. Okay, so 3/4 inch in, you've got your depth cut. So now you got to get your dowel figured out. You need a flat spot on your dowel because that's going to be the reed. Now this one I have even glued or trimmed or anything like that. I use this to show you as an example that you kind of need to cut it and you need to play with it to find the sweet spot. And I'm going to show you on camera so you can kind of see how this looks up close, and because me putting it into words might not be clear enough for you. Okay, so as you can see, this is the dowel sliding in and out. You want that dowel to rest just about where your notch is. You may need to go just a little bit further back, like so, but I've never been able to make it work so well going beyond that notch. So you line it up roughly where your notch is, blow in it, and if you need to, pull it back just a little bit, blow in it to get that pitch that you really like. I'm going to demonstrate for you how that works. I'm going to line it up. Not quite. Pull it back just a little bit. So that's about it right there. So you can either put a pen or marker or something like that. That way you know exactly what the depth is. And you put a little bit of wood glue on there, super glue, whatever you got, and you stick it in there and you glue it. In about an hour with wood glue, it dries enough that you can kind of double check. And if you need to, just drill it back out and fix it again. So this was my mock-up. And I actually had to do this like twice because when I glued the dried up, it didn't quite get the pitch that I wanted to, so I drilled it out again. Anyhow, there we go. Now, the ultimate goal was to take a deer shed that I've had sitting around my shop forever for a special project. I just didn't know what it was. This is one that we found, I think, at a scout camp or something like that, and it's just like chewed up by mice and everything. So it's not very pretty to display, but it's very practical. It's like, all right, so what did I want? Here is my whistle from the deer shed, okay? And so I took every lesson from this and I applied it to this, and this is my deer antler whistle. It's pretty shrill. It's pretty loud, right? This works wonderfully. It's everything that I wanted to do. Now, because moisture and everything is going to get to it and wood swells, and I'm pretty sure my dowel is made from a softwood, not a hardwood, I went ahead and after the glue dried and everything, I went ahead and dunked it in some linseed oil, some boiled linseed oil, right? And I did that, a couple times after it dried just to make sure that it saturates into the wood pretty well. Now I've got myself a whistle. You may start out with an idea. I had this vision in my head of colonial soldiers possibly carrying a whistle, or frontiersmen carrying a whistle, for the same kind of things that we do with whistles today in the outdoors. which is primarily emergency signaling or signaling to your friend. You know, in a hunting party, back then, even hunting horns were used. Hunting horns could carry way farther than a whistle. This is more of a close proximity kind of thing, but it's also smaller than a hunting horn. Now, that being said, will I go out in the woods in my colonial kit when it's not a historical reenacting, when I'm not presenting to the public and use this? Absolutely, because how cool is that? Something that you made, it's effective, right? And when I'm using my musket, my flintlock, I gotta give credit where credit is due. I'm putting it in the box down here because I don't know if they really want to be, you know, shouted, but this guy down here gave me this awesome idea when I posted it on Bannerman's, which is on Facebook, that I could use this to touch up the flints on my musket. It's like, man, that's brilliant. I don't know why I didn't think of that. That is so cool, and it excites me more to have this on my 18th century kit. It wasn't used by frontiersmen as far as I can tell, or colonial soldiers, but for my own personal use and my own personal mind for emergency preparedness, it works. Now, if you like this video, please click like because it helps other people find it. You'll be doing them a favor. We really appreciate it. Now, we're coming up on May pretty soon. Things are flying by. Spring's going to be over by, you know it really quick. And when that happens, summer's going to be here. Preston Mess Kit is supposed to be delivered by the end of May, so that means it should be shipped early June to your door. I am so excited about this, and I can't thank those of you enough who decided to join me on this journey. I thought it was a pipe dream. I really did. I've been wanting to do this for over, 6 years, really, since I've learned about the Preston Mess Kit, and it's so cool. These things are extremely rare. You're not going to be able to find one on eBay or whatever for less than $200, all right? That's if you find a really sweet deal and they're bent up and they're rusted to crap, and again, if you're lucky enough. So you can buy a reproduction one for $175 today. Today is the last day for $175 shipped to your door if you live in the continental United States. And I'll give you $15 shipping credit if you live outside the United States. But after today, it's going to cost $200 and you're going to have to pay shipping. With the tariff fees and everything else that's going on in our country and our world, they just can't be avoided. It is what it is. But those of you who have locked in the price, don't worry, you're locked in. I made that promise to you, and it's scary. I think this is the best one-man mess kit ever created. I believe in this so much. You got your skillet right here, so you can fry up your bacon. You can fry up your steak and eggs. It's just awesome, just the right size, right? It also comes with the plate. Now the plate itself, look at that. It's nice and deep. For one man, you've got 2 places to put your food, and if you combine them together, they actually combine to create a container. Or you can lock it in place, and you can even use it for a baker. So you can bake your biscuits, your bannock, your breads, your cookies, and your cobbler. I showed you guys how to make a cobbler in an earlier video, and at the end of this video, you can check out the playlist for the Preston Mess Kit, and the cobbler is on there. And boy, was it so good, so good. It'll also come with the cup or pot, depending on how you want to use it, what you want to use it for, what have you. Locks into place like so, and your 54-ounce stainless steel canteen. All these pieces are going to be made out of 316L stainless steel, which is durable enough for a campfire, for a camping stove, backpacking stove, whatever you want to throw at it. And because it's stainless steel, unlike this aluminum, the original one, it's not going to get all dinged up and banged up, and it's going to last you a lifetime. This thing will last you next generations, I guarantee you. It's certainly going to be an investment, especially if you go outdoors and you're trying to save space and everything. This all packs down into a nice, convenient setup that you can carry with you, whether you use it as the pieces as a container or you combine it like so, and you put it in your cover case. Now, it will not come with the cover. You have to buy that extra, or you can make one. And I will give you the templates on how to sew your own if you want to go that venture and save yourself some money and have that adventure. Sarge Vining over at Bannerman's. He's got the YouTube channel Bannerman's Camp, and on Facebook he's got Bannerman's on there. So he's reproducing these. Now this is not an exact reproduction of the Preston Mess Kit covers. This is more like what you would get at the hardware store, the tent and awning store in your hometown, just to cover it up. And it's lined with felt so you can soak it in water, and if you're using this during the summer months, that evaporative cooling will keep your canteen nice and cold. And man, is that, it's a miracle of science how that works, but it's wonderful. It will not come with the belt strap. You can buy the belt strap or you can buy the sling separate through him. But right now he's taking pre-orders on this. The description box below, there's a link to his channel or his website, so you can order that. And he's still figuring out how much it's going to cost to do the reproductions. And as soon as he's got that figured out, I'll let you know. Now again, it's in the description box below for you to purchase your own and read the history and stuff like that. If you'd like to see the playlist of Preston Mess Kit and everything that you can do with it, then check it out here. If you want to see the playlist about all the camp crafting gear and skills and stuff that I've got, then check it out here. I appreciate you guys giving me some of your time today. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Give a kiss out to your loved ones, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.